Good evening. The Design Review Board No.1 public meeting of February 5th, 2009 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You will be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by calling our Design Review Board hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and Design Review Board reconsideration and appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the Design Review Board decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his or her discretion. Roll call. Board Member Eliano.
Here.
Board Member Ellis.
Present.
Board Member Insua is absent. Board Member Simonian is also absent. And Board Member Yu?
Here.
Report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on January 29th, 2009. This evening's agenda included the election of the chairperson, but because we have two of the Design Review Board members not present, we request that we postpone the election of the chairperson to the next Design Review Board meeting date.
I'll move postponing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
In this case, because our chairperson is not present this evening, is there a motion for Chairman Pro Tem?
I'll move that Mr. Yu be Chairman Pro Tem.
Second.
There is a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Oral communications.
One day. Thank you.
Oral communications. I do not have any speaker cards.
I don't
Do
either.
you?
No, I
Any
don't.
discussions limited to items not part of the agenda? None, so taken. In terms of the review of calendar, there are no staff announcements, and there are no cases on tonight's consent calendar, which brings us to the one and only item on tonight's Design Review Board agenda.
Well, thank you all for coming such a rainy day. We have a nice crowd here. We have one and only case would be A, 1-PDR-2008-085A, address of 297 Kempton Road. And are we ready? Oh,
Yes, Mr. Chair, we
are we
are.
ready? Go ahead.
But,
Go ahead with the staff presentation.
Yes, sir. Okay, I see.
Would you like us to rotate, which we can do?
No, I'm just looking to see, okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Chair, members of the board, our project before us today is, as you mentioned, it's a PDR 2008-085A at 297 Kempton Road. It had been previously reviewed in September 18th of last year. I'm not sure if you've experienced this, but there was a code change at a time when projects submitted before a certain date, if they were returned after that date, had to take on a new case number. So basically, this is a return for redesign, except it has a new case number. It was a bookkeeping thing that we're trying to, based on our code. So basically, it's a return for redesign for all practical purposes. So we have the old plans here. So these panels here are the old plans. These are the new plans. Over here, and I'll get it when I finish, this is the new plan, and this is the old plan, the perspectives. This is a section view, which I'll get into a little bit later. It's actually showing a section view of the neighboring house above here to give you some ideas of that relationships. Actually, it would be this neighbor's house here looking in this direction. So you, from the top, looking down over the top of that. Do you see that, sir? Right here? Looking back. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let me just zip through here real quick, because it's a rather lengthy staff report, but again, it's more of a return for redesign. So I'll try to hit some high points, and then we have 9 conditions. We'll go through those, okay? And then we have a lot of people here who want to speak, so try to move along here to help us out. The new or revised application here is for a 5,370 square foot 2-story house with a 3-car attached garage. You can see up here in the northern elevation. The existing house, which was the mid-century contemporary one, was a 2,869 square foot house, 2-car garage. The average slope for the site, because you can see there's a very steep slope at the bottom end of the hill, very steep up here. This is a large pad area with the driveway. Actually, the existing driveway is right through here, and they're going to expand it here. And then as the road comes down, it gets steeper, and then less steep, less steep, less steep. Up to this point, there's about 19-foot change here and about 30 feet change in this area here. The amount of grading for that property, I'll explain that too. It includes the driveway, because they're going to widen this driveway. Here, they're going to widen it to provide a new driveway for this particular property while maintaining the existing driveway for the property above. It's a shared driveway area. There's also going to be, and it's in the staff report, the applicant is going to lower this pad area 2 feet for the house to set into. So currently the pad is of the same level through here. They're going to drop it down. You can see it in the topo here where it drops down 2 feet. The previous house square footage was 6,282 square feet. So 6,200, the new house is 5,370. So there's about a 700 some odd square foot change in floor area from the last review. So this was about 6,282. This is 5,370. The lot coverage, the new proposal here is less than the previous one. Previous one was just under 13%. The new one will be, the new one is approximately 13%. The old one was 18%.
That's FAR?
Lot coverage. Yes. The FAR is, that's over on our next section of the review. The FAR, let's jump to that since you mentioned that. The FAR for the previous submittal was 19%. The new one is 16%. In our summary of comparison that we have here, the neighborhood average is 19%, though it does range from a 0.5 to 0.35% for the neighborhood. But there was an average of around 19, which would be the proposed new one is 16.4, so it's within the range that the existing neighborhood exists. Now the height of the house has been lowered. The previous height, if we look at our, was approximately 26, let's say 27 feet, 26.7. So that was the previous height. When you look at the kind of the shadow of where the previous one is, the new house will be 22.3. Part of this overall height, though, is a 2-foot cut in the grade. So the existing grade, let's say, well, it says here 2 feet. So the existing grade would have been here, and this house would have been sitting from here up, the 27 feet. Now they're going to cut that out, this 2 feet here, drop this down, and the overall height will be 22.3. Okay.
From the new grade?
From the new grade, sir. So if you look over here, you can see there's like a little notch, and what they're trying to show is the relationship with that neighbor up there, and they dropped it down to that point. So he's giving his roof pitch elevation. I'll go into that because I have a comment about that. The setbacks. Actually, let me go to your comments refer to the setbacks, and I'll just jump into that later on. Overall, the staff, when we were looking at some of the comments that we had in summarizing things like lot coverage, landscaping, parking, retaining walls, and privacy, we felt that the project had really gone a long way to meeting that, or it wasn't an issue by the board at that time for those particular topics. For the mass and scale, in a kind of a summary, we feel that the new proposal has a low profile, horizontal massing compared to the last one, and that the setbacks are now enhanced further back. And we feel it's relatively consistent with the intent of the guidelines. On the architectural style, this new version is kind of a contemporary ranch style because it has a lower profile, a little bit linear, sort of under a common roof area. So it's a sort of modified ranch style. The comments, one of the things we wanted to mention is that the applicant did work with staff a good bit. They met with us at least 3 times. And there were a number of informal meetings just with myself and with the architect, and lots of phone calls trying to fine-tune some of the comments that we had, both from what the board had given to them and what staff was looking at. And then when we jump into these comments, conditions from that previous meeting of September the 25th, we'll see this. Based on what I can see here, we have at least 3 comments that deal with the massing type issues, number 1 and 2 and 5. For instance, number 1, it says submit a 1-story house or one that is lower in height and reduces the second floor roof and wall massing. So we've noted that we feel that the applicant just accomplished this by lowering it, plus lowering the pad an additional 2 feet, that he's gone a long way in trying to meet that. The second comment relating to mass is condition number 2, where the house appears too massive, not in scale and character of the neighborhood. Again, we kind of feel that the house has been lowered by 6 feet 4 inches. We have a low profile house and roof line, and that the ranch style tends to enhance that lower profile type look. Number 5 is also dealing with massing. The overall design should have a scale, massing, and configuration that works with the topography of the hillside. And so this is a large pad area, as you can see up here. So the particular site, the applicant is meeting that intent, because one of the things we feel that this particular style, the ranch style, which tends to be kind of a lower profile style, is more compatible with this neighborhood. Setbacks, one of the things on the previous project was the house was pulled all the way up to the edge of the pad here. And on this one, the house has been pulled back. So, for instance, before the edge of the house was on the pad edge, here it's 14, let's say 14 feet 11 inches, 15 feet setback. And the overall setback is 37 feet there, whereas I believe this was 20 feet, which of course met code, but yeah, 20 feet 3 inches, so 20 feet there. So it's been pulled back. This location is relatively similar to the existing house locations in terms of pulled back from the site. If you look, you can see the outline of the existing here. And they had a pool and fence line through here. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, now, the design of the house, well, of course, we're back to that ranch style, so that was your comment about the design of the project with a design style and architectural expression compatible and sensitive to the neighborhood used to the guidelines. So if you look at this particular neighborhood, there's a lot of this kind of a lower profile style homes, and that's what the applicant worked with us in trying to get that approach. Landscaping, and this is one thing I'm a little embarrassed about. I cannot find a landscape plan, and my comments would have stated if the applicant had submitted a landscape plan or had not. And so since I didn't say he didn't, he obviously did, and I don't see it. Now, why is that important? Well, the pad area is pretty much the same. The area that's important, though, is here. There's been a landscape planter here added in the driveway, and that was one of the comments here because they lack that. And one of the concerns is you have retaining walls, and when you have the retaining walls, trying to soften, in some cases screen retaining walls, you want to have landscaping next to it. So we did not have that here, but we have it here. The only comments that staff really had was there's some issues about the, actually in the notes, it's not that big of an issue. We had some concerns. There's some palm trees up there on the top. I talked to the fire department. They said, well, you know, they're not in our hillside guidelines for landscaping, but it doesn't mean that that list is all-inclusive. They can work with them in terms of the palm trees, but it would be a design issue if the board felt that that was appropriate for the neighborhood. And staff had this little area right in here. We're not really sure what that is, but we felt that since it's right on the street, it interfaces, that if that can be planted, we put some type of planting there rather than just have a little white space there. So that was one of our comments later on, you might see. The site walls, standard kind of comment. This is more of a bookkeeping thing where we say when we want some details showing that the walls are decorative, because that's a zoning code issue. It doesn't state what the material is. So a lot of times these projects have that split face look. If the board feels that that's not appropriate for this neighborhood, then it would be something the board could say, find something other than split face, and staff would work with them on that. Again, the one of the comments relating to retaining walls, again, so we have a couple on retaining walls, and then the last comment relates to the windows and door details. And so the applicant has given some information here as well as back here, and he, of course, is here to go into more detail about it. But and now the conditions that staff have added, I think, actually has some more of this information requests. So the landscaping for that little triangular area, details on the footings and driveway, the relationships of the windows, a comment about the wood-clad windows, a solid wood garage door, etc. And then the one comment here, comment number 6, I'd appreciate if you could just give that one more look. We put in just something to consider. I have run it by the applicant and the architect. The reason staff did that, and I'll get back to the height issue, I went out and I just spent a good bit of time wandering around the neighborhood, just looking at views and things when the story poles were installed. Now down below here, underneath the project, you're not going to see, I could not see the property, the pad or the story poles down here. The visibility that I went around just a little bit over here. There's a little intersection just a little further up. I didn't see it, but over here it's very visible. These homes have clear views, and a little bit down the street down here, clear views of the property. And of course, the lady above here, I'm sure that the neighbors up here have clear views, because when you're standing up here, I visited with the neighbor here. We talked at length, walked around her property, got some views. And one of my concerns was when looking at the story poles, I got the impression they were just a little higher than her pad, so that when you look here, this 935, it says here, I talked to the architect and he felt that there would have been a step up into the house when you have the crawl space, but there really isn't the crawl space. This topo of 932, there's just barely a step up. This is almost like right on grade right here. So it's pretty much 932, maybe 933. So this is more like a 3-foot difference. It's still clearly visible over the top. I put in condition number 6 to say, you guys are showing that you'll be below, then we just need to prove that you'll be below. It seems to be fair. If they're showing it, then just show it. And then we just prove it, and that was one of the things I thought about. If you have a better suggestion, I'm open to that. Anyway, other than that, in summary, the staff would be recommending the approval with the following conditions, and that pretty much concludes my presentation. And we have applicant, the neighbors, and I'm glad to go through it with you.
I have a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
Here, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Section BB,
Yes, sir.
It shows the living room is down about 2 feet from the entry level.
Okay.
Is that the 2 feet they're excavating? Or is that actually going to be 4 feet lower than the current grade?
That's a good question, sir. I have to admit I don't know.
Okay.
Split the difference.
Let's look here. Let's look at your, here's your floor plan, here's your entry. So here's your entry here at 909. 909 is the same level as what the existing pad is, then you drop
Okay.
down 2 feet.
Then you go down.
And then it's 907 here, 907 here. So I don't see stairs through here, so this is 907. So the entryway itself,
Is what's up a little bit.
that's a little entry up right there.
You're saying it's 909
That's correct. 909 is the elevation given, and you can
with the excavation?
no.
Current.
907
907
is with the excavation. 909 is the topo that you see around here. 909, if you follow that line here.
Okay.
But then, so the entry is going to be 2 feet higher. You
Yeah.
can see it even there. So in other words, the entry will remain. Then it drops
And then
down.
it drops back down.
That would be correct, sir.
And you're right, there is a step up.
Yeah, I think it's for effect, kind of.
Gotcha.
A grander
Okay.
entry. Okay. Any other questions for staff? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see. We've got a lot of name cards here. Start with Mr. Edward Govian. If you could please just state your name and your address.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. My name is Edward Hagobian. I am the architect of this project, and my address is 220 South Kenwood Street, Suite 210, Glendale 91205.
Thank you.
And I believe the report is well prepared and well presented. I would like to say thank you to Chris Baxter. And as you can see, we have incorporated all the changes that in previous design board hearing was recommended or commented, which starting from attaching the garage that was detached and was two buildings, and the garage was in a downslope location, which was not pleasant. So now it's attached, and it's as you can see in the elevations, it's not just one three-car garage. It's broken into kind of recessed condition. Then we have lowered the square footage of it, the lot coverage. We have lowered the height. I would like to clarify that excavation that was the question. Mainly excavation is in the south side of the property, and if the entrance is still in the same level, but it doesn't affect the height, that portion. By the way, to the edge of the slope at the south side, we are not cutting the ridge of that slope. We are kind of slanted slope. May I come close to show?
Please. Sure.
Yeah. This ridge will remain. You see this distance here? That's slope towards the inside. So looking from the street, you will not see the grading.
Okay.
This will stay as is.
A 2-foot berm, basically.
Yes, exactly. I'm glad that Chris explained the the view issue, and which is the critical issue, I believe, for this project. I myself, I have been very sensitive about this issue. I have been coming to design board for many years, and I don't want to block anybody's view. And by lowering and considering that our neighbor standing in the room, the eye level is plus another 4 or 5 feet, or even sitting, that's another plus 2 or 3 feet, their view is clear. Especially because we have moved the building towards the west, and we have opened more opportunity for the view for them. Of course, first of all, I would like to thank the design board that by rejecting the project last time, they gave me the opportunity to redesign this project. And if there is any improvement, which I think there is a lot of improvement with this new design, the first credit goes to the design review board, then goes to Stephanie and the staff members that they have been patient with us, with me, for many, many meetings and phone calls and exchange of opinions about, and I really appreciate Stephanie's help to achieve what you see today there, if it's a improvement. I don't take the credit, maybe very little. Other than that, it's well presented, this project, and there are minor things like that triangle of landscaping, which is not important. We can do that, or any other issues like that. Retaining walls, like my memories is telling me that we always are having problems with the retaining wall material, because several times board members expressed their opinion that split-face concrete block looks industrial. If you have any other suggestions, we are open to that. That will make it homish. And other than that, I believe it is a project that is compatible with the neighborhood in a sense that it is a 21st century house, not 1920s or 30s or 40s house. And as one of the previous planning directors of the city of Glendale mentioned, change is good and change is necessary. We cannot look like, this house cannot look like neighboring houses exactly, but it can be compatible and be more for this century's house. Maybe a little bit larger or more modern, and I hope the design board will like this style. This is all I can say, and if you have any comments or questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Any questions for her?
No, I think I'm okay.
Okay. Mr. Eliano?
Oh, I did have one. The 700 feet that you took out, square footage, where did that tend to come out of? Anything in particular? Or?
I believe, first of all, by attaching the garage to the house, in that location, if you look in the
there was
a recreation room. That is gone. Mm-hmm. But it's not the only one, because we squeeze all the rooms a little bit further more.
Okay.
One question.
By the way, if you look at the roof plan, you can see the difference, how simplified the roof plan is compared to the old one.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten simpler.
Much simpler, by far.
The 2 feet that you excavated to lower the house, were there any other reasons besides just lowering the house itself?
No, simply we want to lower the house, to satisfy the neighbors. We don't want to block their view. Of course, we didn't only lower by 2 feet. We lowered the height of each floor,
right. And
in the meantime, the old plans, they had a steeper pitch to the slopes of the roof. We have also lowered that. So overall, I think you have seen that.
Yeah, it's about 6 feet total.
Yeah, 6 feet lower.
Okay. In reducing the grade 2 feet, are any trees that are in that area affected?
I can't remember that in that portion in the front there is an important. There are some trees in the west side of the property.
Okay, maybe that's a question I can ask your landscape person.
Yeah. However, we have a new landscape plan. I'm wondering what happened to that.
Well, we can ask him when he comes up.
Started raining and it grew, right?
Okay. Any other questions do we have for him? We're okay?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Albert Agakani. If you could please just give your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Albert Agakani. I live at 297 Campton Road. I'd like to say that, after our September 18, 2008 meeting, we had taken both DRB and staff advice and listened to the tape of our neighbors' concern. We had several meetings with our project architect before we started our second design, since the first one was so stressful. We wanted to make sure that we are going in the right direction with the new design. Mr. Agopian explained us many major issues as far as architectural style, mass and scale, setback, height, and our neighbors' privacy. We thank him for that. And we have decided to go on with our new design. As you may know, we have spent many hours with staff to see what we can do to improve our project. Staff have been very helpful, and we like to thank Stephanie and Chris for their time and ideas. After the final design was submitted, we liked the new design much better than the first one. We have made numerous major changes to comply with DRB conditions. We have been required to put story pole for privacy issue, mass and scale, which we did so, and it was inspected by Chris Baxter. The story pole clearly shows that we are not blocking our neighbor view, especially when we lowered the building height by 6 feet 4 inches. I hope that we did enough in response to board's condition, and if there is any other new ideas from board member, we would love to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you. No questions? Okay, because he's gone already. So.
Okay.
Next one, we have Judith Irakani.
Good evening, board members, staff, and audience. My name is Judith Agakani, and I live at 297 Kempton Road. Now, my involvement in the first project was a lot more than this time because the process was very stressful for me, so I couldn't take any more part in the meetings. Even though I did not take a big part in the design process, I have really loved the results. And would like to thank staff, especially Stephanie, Chris, and also you gentlemen and Mr. Hakopian for guiding us in the right direction. And I hope this time we have met the board's expectations and appreciate your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have a couple of letters.
Okay. Thank you. We'll start with you. Okay, next, Larry Tyson. Or Tyson, I believe. Yeah, Tyson. Sorry.
It's okay. Sometimes I don't even know how to pronounce my own name. My name is Larry Tyson. I'm the landscape architect on the project. My office is located at 314 East Broadway, Suite D, Glendale 91205. I was going to come up and say that I was going to field any questions about my landscape plan, but since my landscape plan didn't seem to make it, I'm here to testify that I did prepare a landscape plan and it was submitted.
I think you're supposed to raise your right hand.
Oh, excuse me. I'm left-handed. Thanks for reminding me. Anyway, I'll swear, Chris, that I did submit it, and it did address the one concern that was made last time about the buffer between the driveway and the house. That was fairly heavily planted. I also want to say this was the best landscape plan that I've ever presented in my life, and it's too bad you weren't able to see it. But I also wanted to say that addressing Chairman Yu's question about the grading affecting any on-site trees, there are no trees that would be affected by this 2-foot depression.
Okay.
None of the trees that we do have some trees we're taking out, but we're replacing with what I think are superior trees. I also want to say that my landscape plan, which is not here tonight, also meets the city hillside requirements and is compatible with the surrounding landscapes. We did use plans that are not specifically called out in the hillside guidelines, but they are in the neighborhood. I wanted to use plants that are in scale, that accentuate the architecture, because I'm excited about this architecture. That's basically my spiel as a landscape architect. I'm also a longtime resident of Glendale, and I'm really excited about this alternate design that's been submitted. I think it's a shining example of good quality design that will enhance the neighborhood, and it's head and shoulders above what they previously submitted. And that's, unless you have any questions, those are my comments.
Okay, let's see.
I have a question. There was a concern about some palms, and I was wondering if you might have a comment on that?
Yes, those are the plants specifically that are, there are a lot of palms within the neighborhood, so I put these basically up close to the house that would, so it'd cast a shadow on the house and wouldn't obstruct views. Typically, I don't like to use them in a hillside development, but I think where I've got them on my plan, I think are...
How big will they end up maturing to?
These are queen palms, which I use, and the queen palm matures out, let's say, 20, 24 feet.
The space along the driveway?
Yes.
What's the plan for landscaping along on, they mentioned it here also.
I would like to point out.
Yeah, I know. I thought maybe you could verbalize it.
Well, we kind of hedged it off, so from the house, you look out and you see the plants and you don't see the driveway. So I've got hedging material that's probably as high as this counter from the house side.
And that's at the top of the?
At the top
of the
that
ridge.
planter, right.
Okay.
And I think I also have some palm trees coming up, so like I said, it filters the view somewhat from the uphill side, uphill neighbor looking down at this house.
Have you had experience using split blocks that are like an interlock with planting growing in between them?
In this case, the wall is so structural, I don't think it would, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I don't think it's applicable to this, this design. I also do have vines that are growing up and over the walls, and also vines that attach themselves, creeping fig that would attach themselves to the wall. So my whole idea is that within, let's say, 2.5, 3 years, you really don't see the walls anymore.
Right, it gets greened out.
Okay.
Even if the walls are facing north, are they going to be okay?
Oh yeah, they'll even be better because the vines I'm using actually grow better in a north exposure.
Okay. What were you thinking of treating the berm part that as it kind of comes up and turns back down? What was the landscape treatment?
Could you point that out to me? I'm not sure exactly where you're.
I think he was
on the plant, the landscape.
This point here and this part here.
I don't know.
Well, that's going to be all native planting. We use a plant called coyote bush, which helps stabilize the soil. And the reason I use coyote bush is the roots go down 6 feet and laterally, all directions 6 feet, and it really ties in the slope and doesn't require any more than rainfall.
Ground cover.
Exactly. So it'll give a base for the house to kind of float on. It's kind of a medium forest green.
Okay. Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Philip Keller.
Hello and good evening, Chairman, board members, and staff. My name is Philip Keller. I am a board member of the Northwest Glendale Homeowners Association and serve as its DRB representative. Got to go a little faster to get it all in. I'm here today to speak about our continued concerns with the returning project proposed for 297 Kempton Road. But I do want to start by noting the design changes to this submittal, which we feel are improved from the previous one, which are good. The 5% reduction in the proposed lot coverage, scaling down from a 4 to a 3-car garage, lowering the overall height of the house about 4 feet, increasing the setback distances, 750 square foot reduction in size, and a change to a more appropriate architectural style. All these adjustments to design are very good. However, we still feel that in and of themselves, they do not go far enough in bringing this proposal to an appropriate level of compatibility required for this neighborhood. We still feel that there are two major and extremely important areas in design which still need further revision: scale and mass. The scale of this proposed house is 5,370 square feet. It's still a whopping 107% larger than the neighborhood average-sized home. That's more than double the size of all the other averaged homes in the survey. More than double is not compatible. This statistic even takes into account a humongous 7,500 square foot house, which, although approved, has yet to be built. If you look at the existing neighborhood, the very real environment around this lot that this house would sit in, you'd find that this proposal is 65% larger than the next existing largest home in the area, which stands at 3,249 square feet. The first floor alone of this proposal is still 19% larger than the next largest home in the area. We think that those figures speak to the structure's inappropriate scale at this stage. Mass, that's 3 minutes. It's no way 3 minutes from the time I started
That was
talking.
actually set at 2, so we apologize. There's still an additional minute.
Okay.
Internal clock is occurred.
Mass, although the architectural style has changed to contemporary ranch, more befitting to the neighborhood, we still strongly feel its massing is problematic. Very simply, a 2-story home of this mass located on the lot does not work. All the lots in this section in this neighborhood are oriented orientated in a stepping down rhythm along a sloping, descending ridgeline with low-slung one-story homes whose profiles mimic the ridge. This proposal's two-story massing is in contradiction to this neighborhood character. Although the horizontal elements introduced by the architect in this ranch design do help somewhat, and they're a good start, in reality, the massing is not dramatically different from the first proposal. If you look at the middle outline silhouette on both these pages, mass-wise, from what the neighbors are going to see, it's very similar still. The DRB previously asked them to explore a one-story variation and to lower the height. If you look at most of the two-story homes in the area, actually all the two-story homes in this survey area, they're all one-story homes as visible from the street frontage. They only slope down to on the back of the lot to 2 stories. They're really a split-level type of home. Staff states although this proposal has 2 stories, it would largely be out of view from the downslope neighbors. This is true, however, they didn't add the larger impact here, which is the impact to the lateral neighbors and the neighbors directly up from it on Kempton and across on a parallel ridge on Viewcrest Road. They will very clearly see this redefined massing. Recommendation, reduce the square footage further, maybe split the difference between the proposed size down to the next largest size. That would be about a 4,300 and change house, which would still be over 1,000 square feet larger than the next biggest home. Just as important, revisit the home's massing by exploring a split-level design on this pad. This would still minimize the footprint while incorporating more of the home into the hillside and reducing its overall silhouette, which we feel is a major key factor and component to the neighborhood's character. We feel that this project's skillful and talented architect can achieve this. He's done it in the past by adjusting the compatible scale, mass, and hillside integration for the proposal with a little more focus and refinement without losing this new successful architectural style that he's brought forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for him?
No. Thank you.
Okay, next we have George Garibian. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is George Garibian. I live at 1015 Bramford, Glendale 91207. I've been following this program, incidentally, in the TV, and I was wondering how it's going to be ended, so I got curious and I followed up. I'm a retired builder, and I was honored with the beautification of the city of Glendale. I received a certificate from County of Los Angeles for the projects I have made, 10 projects in 10 years. So I have knowledge about buildings, I have knowledge about privacy, I have knowledge about setbacks and all these aspects of the building. I think this new version, which just about 2 hours ago, I had to be at Mr. Agopian's office to see and have some more information so I can speak the necessary things to bring it up before I make myself a fool. And I see design is very nice. I see it's integrated with the surrounding houses. I don't see the massive size. You know, in a 30,000 square feet lot and, 5,000 square feet house is not a massive. I don't think so. The view is not affected. This project will bring a beauty to the neighborhood, a beauty to the city of Glendale, and the improvement for the whole city. Therefore, my opinion as an expert in the building is to go for it. But there are some other hidden things in it that nobody aware of, that how much effort Mr. Agopian and the project owner they put behind this so far. And I believe any decision is going to be made on any subject, always it should be fair and balanced. If there is no fair and balanced decision, that decision it cannot be a right decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Actually, I just have a question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
How far do you live from the subject property?
I live near Glendale College.
So I guess it would be east.
Yeah, I'm on the east side.
Okay.
But just incidentally, I was watching the program on the TV.
We can't go too far into, but
That's why.
one of the questions from sort of your expertise and your many years of doing this, what would you change on that house?
What
The
would I
design,
change?
Yeah.
I think in order to change, I would enlarge the size.
Make it
First.
bigger?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
Point well taken. Okay. Thank you.
because there's a lot of potential on that lot, so it could be make a bigger house.
Okay.
I don't know why the neighbors are complaining.
Thank you. Set myself up for that one.
Good. You'll learn.
Next one. Armin, boy, looks like an M and an N. Nazanian.
Hazakanian? Hazakanian.
Is it an M and an H or
MNA.
N-A? Okay. Go ahead.
Well, good evening, board members. My name is Armem Natsakanian, and I live on 356 West Milford Street, and I work at the Glendale Unified School District's Financial Service Department. As a resident of this city, I've come to share with you my thoughts and feelings for this project. But before I continue, I'd like to share a few things with you. I follow your meetings at home whenever time permits, and believe that you guys have great intentions for the people of this city. And I also respect you for the time you dedicate in listening to the proposed projects and in helping build our city. My fiancé and I would like to buy a house that is best suitable for us. Therefore, we have been watching the show and have seen many proposals presented to you. Some of them needed change and others have been improved. However, the current project that is presented to you is by far one of my favorite because of its elegant and modern design. Keep in mind that this modern ranch-style home fits the needs of our current young working adults generation, such as myself, and it is very suitable because of the area since it fits in with the surrounding homes. At the same time, you can keep the elegance of the neighborhood itself. I'd like to see more projects like this one in the near future because they add value to our community. I support this project and I hope the board does too. Thank you.
Any
Thank you.
questions?
That's it.
Do you have any relation to the applicants or the owner or the architects?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
She's my sister.
Okay. Thank you. You can't ask that question. Just wondering.
If there's anything that would prohibit you, it shouldn't make a.
No, I
It
was just
shouldn't
wondering.
influence how you're going to interpret the,
Right.
and critique the design. So
We would probably want to stay away from
any type of.
Okay.
speculating people's motives for what they say.
Okay. Next one, Rita Moore.
Good evening, all. My name is Rita Moore. I live at 289 Kempton Road, adjacent to the 297 Kempton Road address. I am opposed to the demolishing of the current beautiful house and then building a very large, two-story house on the pad just below mine. I have studied the redesigned house plans. It now appears to be somewhat modified in scale, but I feel that the 5,370 square feet two-story house is still too massive to be compatible with the style and design of the neighborhood homes. All the houses in the area average less than 2,598 square feet and are low in profile, so do not obstruct anyone's view. And if you look at the stair-step lots that we live on, you will see that they were not designed for two-story houses, as it would take away from the view from the house above. The house poles that were put up still show the heights will be predominant in my view. I can't really see that it has been lowered the amount stated. In summary, I still feel the house is too large and is in conflict with the design and character of the neighborhood. And for me, it will have a huge impact on the desirability and value of my home by taking away part of my view. I feel it will also take away the value of my neighbors' homes. I hope my neighbors will redesign their home to be more compatible with the houses around them. I respectfully ask the city to reject the request as submitted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Any questions?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Jack Healy.
Hi, guys. My name is John Healy. I live at 346 Viewcrest Road. We're located directly across from that house. Viewcrest, and we're right across.
If you could just state your address, please.
Pardon me?
Your address.
346 Viewcrest.
Thank you.
And so we live across the house, across the street. I'm against the two-story home on Kempton because it simply does not fit in. And I also never understand why the city of Glendale does not allow the views to just say it blocks the views. We've always had single-story. Viewcrest is single-story. They're all single-story. Okay, these properties came at a premium. We paid $300,000-$400,000 extra to protect the views. And once you allow one two-story house in the neighborhood, then that just, we've already fought the one next door, and it just becomes a stepping stone. You allow one, they're all there. So this 1950s neighborhood was perfectly done. They all follow the slope of the hill, and they all stay within 10 to 20% in square footage of each other. Mine was 1850 originally. The one who just spoke was just short of 18, 17 something. This is nowhere, even close. Okay, this next statement of mine is this house in question is one of the bigger lots in the neighborhood. He might have to give up a pool that he plans on removing. He might have to give up some of his yard, but his size lot is big enough to do the same thing he wants to do in a single story. And I doubt if he even has to step down the hill. And that's what most of the people have done who need a bigger house. They step down the hill. They don't do two-story. Thank you very much.
I have a question for you, sir.
Okay.
Is your house visible on the blow up here, on the image at all? I don't know. I'm just wondering if you see your house.
Did you guys bring up the pictures that we had requested?
You still have?
Yes, I have that file here, sir.
I don't see it.
I'm just wondering if I could see your house on there.
Oh, you need to go to the, he'd be blocking, so he needs to go behind you or stay in front. It's whatever you want. So he can go behind if you want to.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, you didn't bring the ones that were on the board, the big white board? No. We had them mounted.
The ones that I have here, sir, are the ones that were in the file. I was not the case planner for it, so I went through the file and pulled
we
out.
had some blown up so big, and can you see our sheet from there?
So they're up.
Yeah, I was just trying. There must be that back street back up above to the top of the picture.
We're looking right at their house, and this is not a good. This is a good view if you want to pass the project. But this isn't a good view of it. Show the opposing. And this guy in the yellow shirt.
Well,
if they pass this project,
You have to speak into the microphone.
Right.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I just wanted to see if your house, if you can't see it, thank you. I appreciate
No, I'm not
your.
going to tell you I can't see it
Okay.
because from this picture, I'm not sure.
Right. Okay.
But to get everybody up here and speak who's not living directly, not going to be, you guys can say, oh yeah, it's going to be a little too bad. This woman might have her view a little bit messed up. There's a lot of difference of all of a sudden you're looking and they're saying 3 feet below the house, where before it was 20 feet below. I mean, there's no comparison.
I'm sorry,
You have to
sir.
live through that.
Your time has expired. I'm sorry. Thank you.
The photos? Sir, the photos?
Oh, photos, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought those were the ones.
All
when,
these people are so excited about this project. There's going to be some houses for sale, so just let them know that.
Oh, sir, do you want this here? Or do you want to
People who
submit
don't live in the
that?
neighborhood are all for it, but let's listen to some people.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, we got some people to get to. Valentine Afghani. Sorry, I butchered your name.
Good evening. My name is Valentine Agakhani. I live at 601 Glenwood, apartment number B, Glendale 91202. I wasn't present during the September 18, 2008 meeting, but I've had a chance to listen to the comments made by the DRB and the concerns raised by the neighbors. I am in favor of the new design because the new design incorporates the conditions imposed by DRB and the concerns raised and the comments made by the board during the September 18, 2008 meeting. The new design can coexist with the existing houses in the neighborhood. Compatibility by definition means it has to a degree mingle and coexist with the existing houses in the neighborhood, but doesn't exactly have to be the same. And I believe this new design does that. And Albert is extremely hardworking, honest person. He truly appreciates all the work that the design review board and the city staff put in working with him and the architect. And he is open to any additional comments and ideas that the DRB has to offer so he can move forward with the project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? No. Thank you. No. Thank you. Sue Ann Tate.
Good evening. I'm Sue Ann Tate. I live at 306 Viewcrest Road in the neighborhood of this proposed home. I feel that the architecture and everything, if you all would come up, take a look at where we all live.
We've been up
there. You've been up there. Good. Okay. You can see that a two-story house, and I can understand why it wouldn't be blocking somebody's view, would be compatible or be integrated with our neighborhood. 1957 was the year that our homes were built. They were built on a tiered basis so that each homeowner would be able to have a clear view from his or her property. One other point, the person who lives at 289 Kempton, if this property should ever be sold, I think it would be devalued in some way, be diminished. And also, if the last thing I have to say is if the project is accomplished, you can bet that other property owners will be trying to do the same thing in our neighborhood. On our street, we've already abolished some people's, they wanted to add on to their house and build a second story and that sort of thing, and we held that off. And I think it's very important that we keep our neighborhood on a one-story basis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Sergej Goli.
Good evening. My name is Sergej Goli. I live at 419 West Wilson Avenue, Glendale 91203. I've been following this case for a few months, and I really do like the new design. There's myself planning to build a new house where I live, and I've spoken with Mr. Hakopian a few times. It's a beautiful design. It does addresses a lot of the concern that neighbors have as far as design and scale and view. So I'm in favor of this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last card is Sergey Asadorian. Let me look one more time. But go ahead and come on.
Hi, my name is Sergey Asadorian. I live in 2041 West Kennett Road. I have a Spanish-style property, and I kind of got surprised why this project got rejected. Then I start following this. Maybe I was thinking that maybe in the future I'm trying to do something like that, put a second storage in my property. And it was I was kind of upset that they got rejected such a beautiful project, and now the new style. I'm just thinking that hopefully this 1950 property is going to get, we don't live in 1950. I said new style, new 2000. And when I went over there, I looked the neighbor. From my point of view, it wasn't, even with that one, it wasn't blocking. Well, they dropped it. Now they dropped it down. It's a beautiful property, and hopefully the rest of the people gonna change the new owners. The future, they're going to come up with these beautiful styles and give a better look to Glendale and bring more value to our city and even for the neighborhood. And I'm in support of this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I know she did hand
I guess
me
we
a
lost
card,
it, huh?
so forgive me.
Good thing she's paying attention.
Sorry, Kathy. You can go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and come up? If you could state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hi, I'm, good evening, Chairman and board members and staff. My name is Kathleen Healy, and I live at 346 Viewcrest Road in Glendale. I'm across the canyon from the applicants. I think, if you want, I can kind of point out where we are. I
Yeah.
couldn't see it from back there.
Can you see it?
Sure. Is this the...
Yes.
That's the subject property, yes.
Okay. So our street is at the very top of that. This is Rosalie's house, so Kay's house, Jack's house, Pauline's house, and ours is just the one.
Okay, so one this way. Okay.
Are
Shall I
these-
shall I reset it?
Those aren't them that we were talking about?
No.
No, it's okay. We can see how it goes a little over. We'll allow it.
Yeah, there you go.
This is a photograph just taken a few days ago of the property in question, and also the property of the woman who spoke about her house that's going to lose part of her view, and then a house down below, and then there's another house down here. There's 4 houses that sit on this ridge, and they're all step downs. I don't know if you want to see this or not. I'd like to start at the...
We can see
Sure.
it. We saw it. Yeah.
Pass it over.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our neighborhood is a group of single-story ranch-style, low-pitched homes. Now, I'm talking about the crescent, so there's 4 houses that sit on that ridge, but then it winds around to our ridge, and there's 7 more additional houses, and they all have steps that they go down. And every one of those homes is a ranch-style, low-pitched home. They were all built in the 1950s, and they were all clean lines with a step-down effect with the terrain. I've lost my place here. And there was a total of 11 homes, and each with their own individual privacies and views. Each one of them have views of downtown Glendale, downtown Los Angeles, and then to the right or to the west, San Fernando Valley and beyond. This ridgeline of homes, over 53 years ago, were one of the first hillside developments and are a stone's throw away from historical homes in our area. These ridgeline homes have remained true to the builder's vision and can be seen from as far away as Burbank, downtown Glendale, and beyond. The home in debate would interrupt the hillside harmony of all of our homes. Its second story would be out of place. It doesn't integrate well, and
You can go a little longer since.
okay, and its size is too big. The next door to this is the woman that spoke. Her home is 1,700 square feet. So this home would be 1,700 plus 1,700 plus 1,700 is 5,100 square feet. It's even bigger than that. It's 3 times bigger than Rita's house. So I think it's a beautiful design, and I wish them well. I think they're very lovely people, but I don't think that this fits into our neighborhood. I would like to see it redesigned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this time, I think that is all for the cards. Unless there's anyone, would you like to come up and...
There's a 2-minute rebuttal.
Okay, a 2-minute rebuttal. 2-minute rebuttal. If you could state your name and address.
Edward Hagobian, 220 South Kenwood Street, Suite 210, Glendale, 91205. I had submitted a big map that is not here today, and on that map I'm showing the houses that are visible from this lot, the subject lot. When you look around, and you will see houses in the same level almost. And I have a list of the square footage of those houses here that I have submitted as additional information. That there are houses from starting 5,000 square foot up to 6,700 square foot. So these are in Glendale. These are as the lady says, a stone throw from this house. That's one issue here. So the size of the house is compatible with those houses that are visible, very close, not more than 200 feet distance from this house. The other issue is that all these houses in the Kempton Street that are downslope, if you look at from the downslope street, you will see 3-story houses there, all like apartment buildings that we submitted pictures, and unfortunately those pictures are not here today. But when you look to these houses, first thing you think that these are apartment buildings, 3-story, down looking from them. Yes, from the upper level they look like they are 1-story, but eventually they are a part of the view of this neighborhood. The other issue is that one of the neighbors is suggesting to have split level. Split level means that we have to get closer to the slopes, downslopes, and build a portion of that house by excavating into that slope. So that can be a split house, which in that case is not as good as what we have presented today. Was that 2 minutes?
If you could wrap up, please.
That's all I can say. I think the neighbors are exaggerating the blockage of the view. And I'm asking the design board to approve this project because we have done our best to satisfy all the requirements all the comments by the design review board. And this is not a 1920s, 30s, 50s house. This is year 2009 house. Okay. It has to be a difference between this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a quick question for you. At the last submittal in September, there was a lot of discussion at that time that you were going to be using that combined driveway, and now that you've moved off of it,
No. We never talked about that.
Oh, I'm sorry, then I'm missing.
No, we cannot use that existing driveway because we have to bring it up to code, and if we bring it up to code, then at the top of that slope, we will not be able to reach to our property. We can, but the neighbor cannot go into his house,
right?
Her house.
So my question is leading into is anything happening to her driveway? Is it?
We leave that driveway totally, completely to use as they have been using that.
Okay. Will there be a grade difference between the existing driveway?
Yes, there is a minor grade difference, which is maximum is like about 2 feet, and we have a retaining wall in between these two, and that will be separate these two driveways.
So there's a retaining wall foot or 18 inches higher, so there's a curb area?
So they will be able to use the driveway as they have been using always.
Right, okay.
And this is a kind of expense and software that we are offering to our neighbor.
Well, is there another solution? Would there be another?
No.
Then you're not really offering it, you're doing it to get the project done?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Thank you. Okay, we could close the...
Okay, Mr. Chair, members, but we got two things. We have, just wanted to make sure that you received the neighbors' letters. There should be a petition that came in. This group. For the petition that came in, it should be in your stack of papers there.
Yeah,
we got them. Yeah.
Okay, that was, and so we have a letter from a Mr. James Davis Polk, and then we also have this neighborhood petition that came in just now at the beginning of the meeting. Is if you could look through those.
That one?
With 11 signatures.
Yeah,
Then also, if you want to, we do have, Mr. Algobian alluded to these views of the neighboring properties. We have that because that was part of the previous.
It was here at the previous, right,
Yes,
I remember.
We have that here. If if you want to look at it, we can put it up. It's a bunch of plans, but we're welcome to do that if you so choose.
I think maybe we should.
See that picture.
Yeah, I think we should put that up.
All right, sir.
Yeah, I remember now.
It is the ones that are all out of it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman of the Board. That was one of the things, if you remember in our previous comments, we had mentioned that since they were out of the area, at least some of them, not all of them, but some of them, then we, in the last comment, had said, let's focus closer to home. And
Great.
then here's some, this section, just if you put that one behind, let's get this out of the way here.
Looking at the old
Mr. Chair, members of the board, what the applicant is, if you can see here, our section views relate to the section views here. What the applicant has also done is he has shown, keyed the different views from here to homes and their locations. So that was the idea here from the last time, as I recall it. So see, he's trying to show the locations of properties in the area, and so that you can get a feel for it. Then also here's his sections here in the red. So here's his sections in the red going in this direction here, and then the sections here in this direction going here. And it gets some topography lines there. This is the most current one, of course.
Oh, yeah, it's on the other side. Hey, I have a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot on Kempton, two up around the corner, that's permitted but not built.
Correct. Actually, sir, that is...
That lot, right. Has the permit lapsed? Do we know? I mean, is that...
I don't know. I didn't work on that project, so I'm not sure.
Right.
Mr. Gopian can answer that question because he is the...
He's the project architect.
That is correct, sir. So if you need... I believe that one is still active because the council has extended these. Am I correct? Yeah.
I'm
Sure. Come on.
Open it.
We never closed it.
Yes, that house is very close to this house. Maybe, probably, but not more than 200 feet.
Right.
It's right here in this.
Yes.
Right.
And the designed house is about, I believe, 7,000 square foot house, which is approved by designing board. And because of this economic situation, we keep that valid, the permit.
When was it approved by DRB? Do you have any idea, or off the top of your head?
Not exact. I would say about a year ago, plus minus.
2008, sometime last year, or
no,
2007?
maybe 2007.
2007.
Yeah, 2007.
And there's been a delay because of the economy. The council's
Yes,
extended
that's
those
the only
permits
reason, but
till...
the owner will build that definitely.
Okay.
And all these pictures that you see there, it's located in where that property is, so you can compare with the location of this property and see how close they are. And some of them, they look like three-story buildings there.
Okay, thank you. Could close the session. Anything else from staff that we need?
No, sir.
Thank you for putting that up for us.
Yes, sir.
We'll close the session and we'll discuss. Mr. Aliano, would you like to get us started on this project?
Thank you.
Your name starts with A, sir.
Ouch. Actually, I had a couple of questions for Mr. Hagobian, if you wouldn't mind coming up.
To open it up again?
And I think I'm trying to understand this drawing, which I guess will be
that one? It's over here.
Yeah, back there. I can't tell. Shall I post this? You know, you're showing some kind of a perimeter element here, which looks like a wall. What is that doing exactly?
This is just a very short wall in order to put a fence on it so that it will be a safety issue.
But this wall is not. Are you bringing all this grade up to that wall, or is this wall higher than the grade?
That is higher. As you can see, the slope is kind of bermed towards that.
Right. Well, if you look, this is all bermed up. I understand that.
And the back of that is bermed down.
That is bermed down.
Yes.
It goes up here to this point.
Right.
Then it burns down.
No.
No, right at the ridge.
Well, right, no.
Yeah, right
Actually, this is 905.
No.
This goes to 909 right there.
Yeah.
Right, this is higher, but
Chris is right.
this is this a how?
We try to not to see from the street the grading. So we kept this ridge, and we went down on the back of that wall. This wall is simply because we want to put a fence for safety issue. So
Yeah, but you'll see this. Is this a curve or a wall?
that's a very short wall that we'll put the fence on top.
18 inches, 24, 6?
6 inches.
6 inches.
Yeah, but then you have some kind of a railing on top of it.
We have
some
to.
kind
It's
of
a safety matter. Yeah. Steep slope going.
There's
down.
an existing fence there now, right, on the property?
There is an existing
Yes,
fence.
there is. Yes, sir.
And then the same thing is back here.
Yes.
But where is the existing fence right now? I think it's. I can't remember.
In the photographs,
Yeah,
sir, they
you can
had
see
to.
You can see it.
Well, that's the back.
Yeah, but you can see it right along in there. See it? And it's right in here. You know, it's about
But I don't remember seeing it in the
5
front.
foot.
Well, that's the old drawing, but.
There's some photos. The photo.
Well, maybe this will show that. Okay. So it's right here.
I thought I saw them in the photo package.
No, there,
If you touch, be careful not to touch that because it'll
Did you say the
whack
fence
it
was 6
around.
feet high? Or
Oh, there we
how high
go.
was the fence?
Sorry.
Good question.
So are you bringing this? Oops, are you bringing this line further out? Or
No. You are keeping.
Don't touch the
Whatever
screen.
the reach of
They don't want us to touch the screen.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't touch the screen. Take one of the pens, you can mark on it, I think, can you?
myself. Let's see. That reach there. You don't want to touch it. So if you grade it from the street, you can see that something is changed.
But you're keeping all of this back here where it
Yes.
is. You're not moving it in or out. There's no retaining condition there.
No.
How high did you say the fence was at the top?
The fence, according to the building code, has to be 42 inches.
So 42 inches.
That's a safety matter.
So is this what it's going to be then? It's going to go up?
Yes.
42 inches, burn back down into the...
Yes.
And then the driveway, the existing driveway next door, and your driveway, this is steeper than your driveway.
Yes.
So it's going to do this. So is this wall right here? Is that you're creating a retaining condition
Yes.
there? And what would be the highest point, if you were, say, looking?
According to the zoning code, the highest retaining wall at the property line, which in this case is not the property line, in the first 5 feet is 3 foot high. Anyway, our highest, our most difference will be, I believe, is about between 1.5 to 1 3/4 foot.
That's how slight it is?
Yes.
So it's not that big a deal, okay. But you're not providing any kind of buffer zone there, so when you're driving up the street and you're going to see these two driveways, there's no real landscape buffer between the two.
If we had to create that kind of buffer between these two, we have to move the driveway towards the slope. Then we run into very high retaining wall on the left side of the slope.
The driveway towards the slope. Well, obviously, if you moved it southerly, the whole project has to
First of all, if you go to south, then the street is lower, but that is not
right.
That important. What is important in that we run into very steep slopes, and retaining those slopes with the limited possibilities that we have with the height of retaining wall will be almost impossible. Otherwise, we would love to create that kind of separation, but it's not possible to do.
So right now, there's no landscaping at all between the two driveways. I don't see it, and you're saying that there won't be. There's no chance of
But
that.
there will be a landscaping between the walkway and the driveway. That is the new site plan.
Yeah, but that's on the other side.
Yes.
Right? You're talking about,
Oh, here is.
you're saying there's landscaping here,
Yes.
but not between these two.
Not in between these
So when somebody goes up and down the street, you're seeing basically huge driveways next to
Two driveways. That's very common, like flag lots that we have, they have 3-4 driveways next to each other.
Right, but if there was some kind of landscape buffer, it would make it softer. That's why I'm asking.
I wish we could, but as you can see, may I come close to show you the steep slope that we have?
Yeah, please.
Let me show it to you. May I take this?
Yeah.
The street goes down here. As you can see, this grade from here to here is, each one is 1 foot. And here the slope goes like this. And if we go this way, we'll hit right that
cut it, right.
Very high slope.
But couldn't you, could you start here and then zigzag this a little bit? In other words, take some of this landscaping and maybe create some kind of an island.
Oh, maybe.
Just to sort of break
maybe
up.
here we can, but
Right.
not from here to here.
Right, well,
from
I'm
here
saying,
to there,
right,
yeah.
if you were to curve this a little bit and then go back so that you create a
I think we
little
can.
spot.
I think we can.
Okay.
So in certain areas, create sort of an island area.
Well, you curve the driveway so that when you have a landscape buffer there.
I never thought of it.
Any other questions for him?
Okay.
Just a second.
Now, one last question. The story poles the owner put these story poles, right? I can see the story poles right there.
Yes.
Now, what does that represent?
I don't know, 1 by 1.
I mean, the highest point, is that the ridge or is that the eave?
That's the ridge.
Okay.
That's the ridge.
Okay, so we're talking about...
Well, that house.
Most now, well, is 1, 2.
There is this, if you look in the side.
The 5 at the left.
Well, that's up here, right.
Yeah, it's open here. This whole view is open.
Palm trees?
Yeah, the
But
palm
this is the
trees,
rear.
and then
This
some
is
of
the
the bigger
downside.
trees.
This is on the other side. It's just looking from here. Looking that way. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hagobian.
Thank you. Let's close the session. Go ahead.
Well, hopefully we can have a little dialogue here because this is a tough one. What I do want to say, though, is that, and I think even the people that opposed the project agreed, is that the project as in terms of the architecture and the aesthetic is very nicely done. I think nobody can question that, I think, from what I've heard and what I've seen. So from that perspective, this is actually, in my opinion, of all the projects I've seen of Mr. Hagobian, in terms of the style and the way it's been designed, it's one of the nicest one I've seen from your office. I think you've captured an aesthetic that's very, very nicely done. So having said that, I think the big dilemma here is not really the architecture or the design, because we know that it's going to look nice. It's the philosophical and also the practical aspects of the project. Practical in the sense that you have neighbors to the side that are concerned, that it's going to block the views. Philosophical in the sense that, you're building a house on a ridgeline. And it's nice to stay away from the ridge lines. I mean, when you're working on a ridge line, you don't want to go too tall, because then everything is visible, because it's basically, it's a ridge line, it's the highest point of a hill. If this were downhill or something, it would be probably less of a problem. So philosophically, I have an issue with that, because we're trying to maintain some control over that. If you look at this neighborhood, I mean, the moment you enter this area, there's large structures everywhere. I mean, I agree with Mr. Hagobian. This is not the only large building in the area. There's lots of them. But in my opinion, even just by looking at the survey that was done, I would say 99% of those are mistakes. They should have never happened. But they're there, so we have to accept them. And the question is, do we keep doing that, or we just sort of start re-examining and really sort of address the philosophical aspect of all this, rather than just, what is really needed by the owner. Because I know that a house like this will be quite useful. It's spacious, it's large enough, and that's what the owner wants it to do. But at the same time, is it what's best for that ridge? Now, when you look at that picture that one of the neighbors brought, I can't remember your name, but I know you brought it. It actually makes an argument. It makes two arguments. One, that's it's a very nice place. The whole ridge, it's very romantic looking right now. But it can also make an argument for the applicant, which is that because of these lots, the way they are cut, they have extreme cuts to make these paths work. Because even in those days when these houses were built, as much as we want to say that they were sensitive to the ridge, they really were not that sensitive, because they did amazing cuts. I mean, these are like 25 feet, 30 feet drops just to create pads, because these homes were done probably, out of a series of plans that were sort of used to sort of develop the area. They weren't really customized, I don't think, to these hills. Otherwise, the houses would have had, split and shifts and things like that. It was more like, we have a plan, how can we fit it? They cut it, they put it down, and it's a one-story house. So all these houses have these really nice low ridges, but the site work that was done to achieve these projects was pretty outrageous. You don't see much of it right now because it's all landscaped. It's all, there's a lot of growth. But you do see, and the most alarming aspect of this particular portion of the street is, let's see if there's a photograph here somewhere. I don't see it here, but it's actually, well, I can probably, it's in the survey that the client, that the applicant provided. And I'm just gonna, this is a dialogue, and I'd like to see where we can go with this. Hopefully by the end of the day we'll make the right decision. I mean, this is a really good example. This is the property right next to it. I mean, look at that cut. I mean, that's really insane. But it's there. Somebody did it a long time ago, and we accept it. Now, this is the existing driveway. Your new driveway is going to be here. So now we're going to open this up even more, so you got even more visible. Now, because you have this cut, which actually occurs on that picture right about here somewhere, on the other side, you see what happens. You basically have all these paths that are doing, it's a zigzag. And so when you do this and you try to kind of, very abstract way, try to connect those points, all these houses kind of follow below a diagonal line. And the point that I was trying to make is that with that picture, if you look at the story poles, those story poles actually still fall within that horizontal or diagonal line that you were imaginary line. Because we're not talking about, the audience can't see it from there, but the story poles are up to there. The highest story pole is right there. So if I were to basically do an imaginary line that story pole is actually still within. Yeah, there's the other house here, and there's another house there. I connect those points. You're still below that imaginary line. So it's not like we're talking about a house that's going to do this. It's not doing this. So I just want to make that point that from that perspective, the argument of this house being very tall is not so convincing. I think the other side, the Compton side, is actually more alarming because there you have upslopes and you have cuts and you have all these big berms. There, I think, one argument I would make is that the existing house is more like a U or sort of a C shape, right? Does kind of this. And when you look at, if you're standing here, I was there today. It was raining, so I couldn't really get out, but I could get a pretty good idea. And I had been there before as well. But what you see, even if you look at those pictures that were given to us, you see this corner right here when you're standing here. Now the house is set back. New house is set back. So I suppose that when you're standing here, you're probably not going to see so much of this, but you will probably see the second story kind of poking out a little bit. Now what's interesting about this, though, is that you are filling in the center of the site. Two-story building in the center of the site, which was not there before. So when you're standing here right now, you really only see this. But once you have to try to imagine what would happen when this is built, what are you really going to see when you're standing here, when you're walking up and down the street? Are you going to see actually more than what you're seeing now? So that's that's a question I think I'm posing. I'm not sure what the answer is because we don't have any kind of three-dimensional models to really show that. But if you were to make a judgment just based on this picture, which is that corner that I just talked about of the existing house, now the new house will be somewhere back here in the middle of the lot, but it's going to be twice as high as that. So how much of that would you see? So you sort of have to go there, squint. Can't do it today because it's raining, but you have to sort of go there and, yes.
I was actually going to say that's the neighbor's house, sir.
Yeah, I know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Back a page, there's a picture
right.
of it where you're, yeah.
Right. This is the one, this is the cut that I was talking, I had got the wrong picture. Here.
Take toward the front.
Yeah, this is the picture that I wanted to talk about right here. We can't see it. It's this one right here.
Right.
You see that?
Right.
Yeah, because that picture is further back. But you see what my point was that right now you're seeing that much.
Right.
But that's right at the edge. The new building is going to be in the middle of the lot, right? You don't see that anymore because the building. But will you see more? My feeling is that you would because it's two-story. Now you're seeing the center of the house.
That's not that view either, sir.
This is not it. No, this is this view.
I may real quick, that view right here.
That view is right here.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's this one.
No, sir, that view is that house. And the other view that you see, this house is that right here, looking down from up here.
So where's that? Then we have I thought there was a picture.
I thought there was one in that pack.
Give me that pointer, please.
Yes.
Yes, I'll show you which
Because
one.
it's similar. I mean.
No, I'll show you. I'll show you, sir. If I may, real quick.
Because I thought I saw it too.
Well, this is the neighbor. This is definitely that house.
That's correct.
This is definitely the house up here.
That is correct.
This is here.
That
right?
is correct.
That's that corner.
That's correct.
I thought there was a picture of that
I'll
corner.
show you which one you're referring to. I know which one you're referring to because I've spent a lot of time wandering around the neighborhood trying to figure it out myself. Okay, now this.
So that's further down. See, the property is right here.
Oh yes, yes. See this home right here.
That's right. That's 289. Their driveway is going to be further down.
No, actually, their driveway is the shared one with this one.
Correct.
So there's
that there is this.
That is correct, sir. So when you look here at, oh, you know what it is? Is the other, let's go back here. Here it is, here. This
Okay, so that's that.
is that fence right here.
Yeah, but we don't have one of this corner.
No, we do not.
Okay.
That one we don't have, because I've looked for that. I have to admit, I didn't think you could see anything from that particular view from down here, because it's pretty much below.
No, well, this is calling it a subject property.
That is correct, sir. That is the subject.
So-
Well, this is uphill from the subject property looking up the hill. So in other words, you're standing here at this garage looking up the hill that way. And then you have,
See, this implies that that corner,
I see what you're saying. I know where that is.
We can
You know,
get that.
I can show you that you're actually standing on the subject.
this view,
Yes.
I assume that that's that view.
No, sir.
Because there is a fence, you can see it actually on the drawing.
Yes, but that's actually, that's their existing driveway right now.
Where are we here? That's the house.
Okay, so for instance.
So this fence, that fence, isn't that this fence right here?
No, sir. That's this one right. That's this one right here. Oh, you're doing that. Okay.
No?
Okay, so in other words, when you're standing up here, this house is this house. You're standing in his driveway right up here. I keep touching that screen. You're standing on the driveway right here, looking up at the house right up here.
I don't know, I don't think I agree. Because look at the landscaping here. See the landscaping right? There is no landscaping at this corner.
I know, but you're not
At the
back at that
base.
corner. You're right. You're not at the base. You're not on. This is not the street. This is at the top of the driveway where the two split. What you're not showing, because you changed the photo orientation, is that they split. So when he goes up in this direction.
Oh, this is the other end, the
Yeah.
corner at the upper end, okay.
Yes, sir.
So that's over here.
Okay,
That's right here.
There
I
you go.
see.
So
Okay.
you're standing here looking
I got
at
it.
that, and see that little, that's that little fence right there. So from down here, not sure you can see the house from down at the street here. I'm sure you did see it, but I'm just saying, I had a hard time actually seeing anything when I was in the car.
Well, it'd be nice to know if there's is there a picture of that at all? Do you have a picture of this view? Of a view from here?
I don't know, I'm not
A
sure.
picture of that view?
You don't have one in your file, I know that.
I can try to find one.
I think it's difficult to see it from that view.
As you're coming up the street, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of being able to see it.
Would you say that because the proximity of the neighbors, this house right here, you see like that?
That's correct.
The proximity of that building to the edge is somewhat, has a similar relationship to the current, right?
I'm not sure, sir. My only concern is that the drop from this corner, sir, my concern is that the setback and drop to this corner at this location is steeper. It's different. I mean, because I know where this one is, having been there myself several times.
Yeah, sure. I think you have to open it though.
Let's open up for comments.
It's almost a 30-foot.
There's about
Looking from this point, we have a longer distance and our view angle is lower. When we go closer,
right.
comes like
That's
this.
that's natural. Yes.
So the house is behind it, and you don't see anything. If you walk in this direction and get closer to here, you won't be able to see anything.
With the current house.
No, with the new design.
Okay.
Can you even see the current one, though, Ed?
Well, I don't have to. I couldn't see.
You
Yeah,
can
see a little bit.
from the street below, and we talked about that in our last meeting. If I may, Chris and I have been to the site a few times, and from our perception, the existing house you can see from the street below because it approaches the edge of that pad. There was concern about that in the last meeting that we heard clearly in working with the applicant. That was one of the things that we focused on, to move the house away from the edge of the pad. And it's substantially moved away from the edge of the pad. And Chris has been out there since the story poles have been up. And Chris, maybe you want to talk about, I think, I actually haven't been out there since the story pole has been up, but Chris, I think, spent a lot of time trying to figure out where the story poles can be seen from. And maybe, Chris, you want to talk about that, because that's what really the story poles are supposed to achieve for us, is to let us know where you could see the outside profile of the house.
No, go ahead, Chair.
Yeah, well, if you remember, what I tried to do is I drove around in the neighborhood, and maybe these. Can I get that? Okay. Let's see. When you come down the street here, this is where I had difficulty seeing anything in the house at all, story poles or anything. You come around the corner, you come over here. This is very, very below it. I went to this point here. This seems to be dropping some more, and this is a. So I didn't see much going down here. Where I came up was over here. And you're right on dead-eye view right here. And I went up the driveway to Miss Moore's house, Miss Rita Moore's house. And, of course, you can see what story poles there because you're right here. So this is where I found the views were very practical. When you're on the site...
What are you saying by views? What's when you can see the house?
Well, yes. From up here, you can see the house and the story poles. This is like looking almost... You're almost looking straight on here. I mean, if you go to the topos, you can probably find something that looks very similar to this topo here. And these can see it. She can see it. These, I think, are going to be harder. I'm sure somebody can, but I think it would be very hard to see it from anywhere, some of these downslope ones. But the ones up here on this ridge, up here, this is all very clear. Currently, they have a fence here surrounding their pool, and this is visible from the street at this corner. This is what I could see right here. And then you can see the corner of her house. Because when I was looking at the photos, I was looking for the same thing you all were, and I remember thinking, what is this? And so when I went out there, I could identify that corner of the house right here, and then I could start seeing when I walked up on the property that photo that shows the angle of the house here, and it started making sense to me. So. And I actually looked at some of this view thing, too. And Miss Moore has a legitimate point. That's one reason why but I explained to her, and I know that she's going to disagree, but we both, we talked about this out there, and I told her, I said, I'm not going to be able to agree with you on everything on this. I'll try to be accurate, and she can say whether I'm not or not, if you want to call her. Her view from here is going to be more obstructed than what's now.
Because the house is going to be there.
Right. That is correct. Now, in the slope, though, as existing, is very heavily landscaped. So when you're looking through here, there's a lot of a very heavy, so almost evergreen type of landscaping, in addition to those very high leafy type trees. Here they are right here. Here are the leafy type trees. And when she's looking down, you can't see it right here, but there's a lot of heavy landscaping that actually, I was kind of surprised how much it stands up behind this house, and maybe over here. But when I was looking in this direction, this angle doesn't do it quite the justice. But I remember thinking, well, it's pretty heavily landscaped through here anyway. A good number of these trees are coming down. These trees right here, because they're within grading or footprint areas of the property. So a lot of these, and my understanding is that Ms. Moore is not happy with these trees anyway, quite frankly, because they block her view. So the view to Griffith Park will have some. It's going, the roof is going to be there where I think now a good bit of heavy landscaping is. I'm not sure how much difference there's going to be, but of course that's where she disagrees with me, and I can understand. Her view downtown Glendale and her view to downtown LA is unobstructed. There is no view there problem. Her view out toward Burbank and the San Fernando Valley is not obstructed. There is this window from here across here to the Santa Monica Mountains, Griffith Park. There's going to be a house down below, and that's one reason I put in that mitigation or a condition that the applicant says he's going to be, he's saying here 5, almost 6 feet lower. I said, well, 3 to 5 feet lower. The reality is it's closer to 3 feet. And so I said, prove it. But that was why I put that condition. He's offering, I'm just saying, we'll verify. That's the thing, So, in my opinion, when I was looking at it, I didn't see the obstruction being that much except through the Santa Monica Mountain view, which she says is her primary view. She said the view downtown wasn't one that she looked at that much. I didn't ask her about the Burbank view, but the one that looks straight over the top of the house is an important view to her. It's going to be about 3 feet to 5 feet lower if the board were to proceed with this. But you will see the top of a roof, whereas right now you're going to see a lot of heavy vegetation anyway, as it is. So it's vegetation, maybe she likes that better, but and then those large trees, all these trees here, a good number of those all through here are going to be coming down too. So I'm not sure, it may be kind of a trade-off, quite frankly.
Thank you.
Well, let me finish my argument here.
I have a question from staff over there, sir.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I guess I would like to remind the board that the issue of whether we should include view protection in the Design Review Board standards was before council and discussed quite at length about 18 months ago. There are some aspects of that, like privacy, that council did put into the code, but view protection per se was not something that council chose to add as a standard for the board to consider.
Thank you.
I think one of the points that I was trying to make was that from Kempton, my feeling is, in terms of view, I wasn't really referring to views out, but more like views of the building. When you're going up and down the street, I think because the building now is placed in the middle of the lot, you're going to see more, because when you drive around here, drive in here, this area, this is the area that's really completely carved out. And you can see that. You can see when you drive up this road, you see the end of this building right at the edge of the slope. And my feeling is that as you go up, because the building is now here, and it's two-story, you're going to see at least this mass.
Yes.
Now, I don't know that it will look as scary as that, because this is really, there's a lot of erosion there. I wanted to talk about that because I haven't quite made up my mind yet. That's why I said earlier I want to have a dialogue with this board and see where we can go with this. So, the other things that I mentioned, like the driveway, I think those are easily solved. I think I'll stop there, and I want to hear what other people on the board have to say about this.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Leon.
I would certainly agree with you. It is a difficult decision. I'm very happy that the applicants moved in a direction, listened to the community, made the project a little smaller, and it actually seemed to like the design better the second time around. And this is one of those projects that's come back for us. I've been on the board for about a year, and there haven't been too many that have been here, and we've had a discussion, and then they've come back with a lot of different input. I think you've done a nice job with the design. I am troubled, as is, I think, Mr. Aliano, with the two-story large house. And I'm referring back to the last time here. Maybe we didn't give you as much clear indication on that because you certainly went back and put time and effort into trying to comply with what the board was saying. I'm torn at this point, too. I don't quite know where to go. The neighbor's driveway, which we discussed earlier, and I think, the neighbor didn't mention, but I think you seem to have a solution for that, and that's a concern that from the last time also. Mr. Yu? I'm sorry to laugh. I'm really serious. It is a very tough one. The house would look great if it wasn't on a hillside, on a pad with these 4 other houses that are all kind of sitting in the same style. That's the difficulty that I'm having. That the second story, much larger house. It would be easy to deal with if it was on a large lot on the flatlands. I don't think we would be here a second time. But I don't quite know where, what the direction would be for you at this point. I'm talking about at that point.
Thank you. First, I'd like to commend sort of the architect and the owners for actually taking some of the advice and making the changes to make it a better project from the previous. And I also want to thank all the neighbors for coming out. I mean, this is a lot of people spending a lot of time to come here and give their input. And like I said, I mean, the project has come a long way. I think the first thing, moving the garage from the back portion and putting it into the house and making it as part of the house is a good move. So we don't have sort of an isolated building, especially right on the edge where people will be looking for at the back of it. I like the fact that the house did push back a little bit from all sides, going back. The 2-foot lowering, I'm not too sure about. It's sort of a way of course, sinking it into the site, but I don't know if you're going to run into other things that have actually, basically further cutting back in an area that that's been heavily graded already. The architectural style looks good. It seems to be pretty cohesive as you go around the corner from side to side. It's tough because when you look at purely numbers, it is a big house, but it's also a large lot, and there is some area where it does allow for separation between the neighbors, especially on the lower side of it. I don't think that from Kempton looking up, of course you're going to now not be able to see because there's not going to be that single story sticking out in the front portion of it on the south side. But I don't think that you'll be able to see it. I mean, it's just a quick sketch, but I don't think that view angle, you'll be able to see the house from there. But once you go up the street, of course, you're at the same level. You're going to be able to see everything that's there. I'm not too opposed to that there. And I'm not totally opposed to the 2-story here. It's just I'm worried about what could happen if it does happen there, and what could happen afterwards and beyond that, and all of those things. So I think I stand sort of in the same sort of position that you guys are in. I think we just need to further discuss it and then come to a way of resolve this.
I mean, they've done a lot of work, and I think they responded to a lot of the concerns. One of the requirements I thought was wasn't there a note in the Chris, if you find that. I thought I read in the earlier version that we were asking to see if they could lower the building. They could do a 1-story.
Yes, sir. If you look at page 6 of your staff reports, there was a condition. Number 1, it says submit a design of a 1-story house or one that is lower in height and reduces the second floor, roof, and wall massing in order to be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood.
Right. So in your discussions during the planning, why wasn't that direction taken? Do you remember?
Well, as in my notes here, I said the new design is 2 stories, but it is 6 feet 4 inches lower than the previous and has fewer square feet. So we kind of acknowledged the effort that the applicant had made, both with the design of the architecture, the reducing of the mass and the scale. His floor to ceiling plate height had changed as well, so he had reduced that. So we felt there was an effort to provide the intent of what the board was looking for when we made our comments.
But you never reviewed anything that was...
No, we never did look
one-story.
at a one-story, no, sir. Or a split level.
Right, well, I think that's what was discussed earlier about a split level. The way I see a split level is more, trying to get the house to, create some kind of stepping. Because I don't have a lot of concern about this portion of the house because it's more internal. It's right about in here. And then the views from there, as you can see in this picture, it would be somewhere in here. That's where the big mass of the building would be. I'm more concerned about this piece right here. Because right now we have a one-story right at the corner. That's a one-story, somewhat at the corner. Now you have less slope here. So you would see that first story right away. But now when you have a second story above it, which is step back, which is somewhere in here, this is the portion that I'm concerned about. And I don't know if there were any studies done to see what would happen if you took that out and do something like this.
Well, we had comments with the architect about trying to push these forms and volumes around. And this was a solution back with. I believe we did talk about trying some more of those options, but we felt that based on what we have seen in the past, that this was a very good effort by the applicant to make a complete change of an architectural style and try to accomplish the intent of the board. So, comments?
You guys opposed to the two-story on this site, or is it?
I'm not crazy. I would like to have seen a single story.
I would have liked to see, because there's enough land there to do a...
And I don't think we would be working this as hard as we are if it had, we'd come back with a single story. But they didn't, and this is what we have.
Well, could we pose the question to the applicant?
To see if they studied the one-story.
Right, I'd like to see why they didn't.
We could ask them. Oh? Would you come up and please answer some questions? We'll open up the session again.
Was there?
Well, it's a difficult question that you are asking me, but spreading this house in that lot will take away a portion of that flat pad, while having this two-story compacted will give us a little bit more backyard, front yard, side yard. However, I don't know if the owner will agree with this idea. If your concern is the view from the Kempton, maybe we can shift the house a little bit towards the west a little bit so that it will be more further from that Kempton Street.
I don't know if it's so much the view as of trying to get your wrap our arms around the second two-story, relatively large house. And that's my problem. I mean, if it was I think I could probably handle the square footage increase if it was an updated single-story house that kind of fit with those other ones in the neighborhood. I know you brought a lot of pictures in of three-story houses on the downhill side, and but all of them are a one-story from the street side. I mean, I guess that's my issue that I'm having a hard time
We have
getting.
pictures there showing two stories that is very much visible. It's not on one side one story, on the other side 2 or 3 story. They are just simply 2 story. But when you have a one story,
900 feet away, or they're not in that 4, 6, or 8 house area. That's the problem. I understand, and I think I agree with Mr. Aliano that those houses are reasons that we're sitting here tonight, because the community doesn't want to see that kind of houses built around.
Well, the majority of those are already built. They will
of course.
They will not demolish them.
No, sir. Yeah. And I agree. But that doesn't mean from this point forward that because they're there, they become the standard.
The one-story house will have a longer corridors and wasted space. This is more compact, and we have more landscaping and more.
Is there is there a way to stretch that first story and have a smaller second story? And the camel's nose is getting under the tent with that comment, but you know.
Everything is possible,
Yeah,
except
right.
that.
No, I think we need to take a look at it more. Do we accept the two-story as it is, or do we say no? We need to go to one story. Yeah, we don't want to get into.
I mean, I guess our mistake probably maybe was last time of not having this conversation, especially with the other two board members here, of saying, I'm certainly not opposed to two-story houses if they fit into the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. That's not the issue. It's everything around here is a low-slung horizontal, and now we have a horizontal design, but it's twice the size or more.
Okay.
Do you have any more questions? Well, it's also the siding. See how these houses are kind of doing this. They follow the ridge. This house now is going to be like. Going across.
Oh, right, across.
So you're creating high points at the, if this is your ridge line, you're creating high points at the ends of the ridge line, the opposite side of the ridge line. Where here, you're following the stepping of those lots. So that's why I was saying, perhaps this may not be a big concern because it's further back, and the people that view that basically. All the way across. There's nobody really right next to it. If we can solve maybe this problem, where now the ridge, because this doesn't show the section. The ridge, it'd be nice to get this in a section to see what happens on both sides. But this is really the ridge right here. Right?
Yeah, the top's been taken off.
So kind of torn because I like the project as a design. I think it's very nicely done. I just don't know. Some neighbors said this, and they said, you do that with this house, and then you're going to see that all over the place because some of these houses are going to want to expand. Before you know it, you have a neighborhood of two-story houses.
Wonderview. Wonderview.
Right.
Although, this in particular has a very big flat lot up there, though. It's not typical with most of the lots.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're putting a house, instead of having a house, a ridge line that's doing this, once you put a building across, opposite the ridge, I think now it becomes more apparent, more visible. Because even these houses, see, these guys are doing this. These guys they're not going like that. They're following the natural slope of the area. And that's what these were supposed to do, which they do. But I'm not also suggesting that you take that design and you turn it because it also makes it worse because now you got a big two-story building.
Yeah, right on the edge.
So
yeah, he's certainly been as sensitive as possible by turning.
I think, if you're going to turn the building that way, you kind of have to do that to the building at the end. You can't have them bookended like that.
Right. Which he starts to do.
Yeah, it's happening. Oops. It's happening.
He does it on both sides, but
right, it's happening
maybe
here.
not to the extent that
It's happening here, and it's happening here a little bit. Even if you brought that much back, I think that would help. Because it sounds like we're saying, because there's such a big shift in the past from the lot above it to this one, there is a lot of volume there that could be filled in with a two-story building without
invading,
breaking that horizontal ridge line, the imaginary line that I showed earlier. So, well, Mr. Hagobian, would you be open to show us what, maybe what could happen to that corner, just with some very loose sketches? You have to lose the square footage.
That's
Yeah. Nice.
master bath.
Is this the problem? Right. I mean, could you lose some of that square footage and kind of redesign that corner a little bit?
That's a possibility.
It's a master bath. Master bath.
It's the master bath.
Not easy, but we have to survive with this design.
So that's something that you.
Hopefully, we can accommodate and up.
Yes. Right. Well, it would be acceptable to me, and I don't know that we can do this technically, if you were to come up with a design for that corner, and then also show us how you would rearrange the driveway so that you could create a landscape buffer zone.
That is possible. That driveway is possible. This one is also something that I can work on it. And hopefully, we can come up with the draft to.
Well, we could do it. We could put it on. I know that we don't like to put things on consent.
No, we're fine putting things on consent, but I think with this level of interest and the level of modification you might be asking for with the mass, I think it would be a challenge to make sure that we're getting it right, because you have been struggling with this a long time, and even though we've been listening carefully and we think we understand what you're going for, I think it would be a real challenge for us to really be confident that we had gotten it right with Ed.
Well, you mean to put it on staff to take care of?
Yeah, to just have it taken care of in that manner. We would be happy to, if we would be happy to work with Ed. He and the clients have been very flexible, as you can see in the change in the design, to come up with something that follows the general profile of the hill. That is what we're hearing. That steps down that side where the hill actually substantially steps down, so it more follows the gentle slope, or let's say the original slope before the giant steps were carved out of the hill. So we'll work with him, and we would be happy to work with him to a point where we feel confident to bring it back as a consent item.
Right. Well, that would be great. I mean, Mr. Yu, I think I would be okay with that. The reason why I think I like the consent, and like Stephanie said, they would work with them as well to try to get as close to what we're trying to achieve. The reason why I like the consent is because I think it'll be nice for the public to see it, because I would like to see a comfort level as well with the community, so that it doesn't just happen in a back room and then it gets built.
Right.
I want the community to be aware of it.
My only one comment would be our two fellow board members who are not here tonight, in participating in this conversation, and having the applicant come back with that couple more voices thrown at them, which.
Well, it is a consent item, so usually what happens with consent,
right, unless somebody pulls it off.
You can't really discuss it.
Well, unless somebody pulls it off.
Unless somebody pulls it off, and if they do pull it off, there is that risk. But
yeah, and I mean, that's my only would be. I'd hate to have them.
I'm not sure that's
get dragged across again.
Although
we have a comment from staff.
Yeah, we didn't realize when we just mentioned that last bit, because this was first heard on September 18th. This goes under the 2 strikes you're out rule, and we can't exactly do a return for redesign here.
Today?
Right. What the board can do is, if the board does not want to approve the project with condition. You can, of course, approve the project with conditions. Staff can work with the applicant, as we mentioned. So that is one option. You can also give very specific direction to the applicant, deny the project. The applicant can still then come back with a redesign. It would be a new application number. That would follow the ordinance, but it would technically be a denial of the project rather than a return for redesign.
Sure, may I ask my supervisors a question? The project that we're looking at is actually, the project that we're looking at has only been reviewed once under this case number.
Ah. Go.
Yeah, the board will recall that the City Council adopted some changes to the DRB process in April 2008, which I will check. I have the ordinance right here, but I believe it limits you to 2 bites of the apple, as Stephanie was saying.
But basically, this is a new case. We're looking at it, see, from a big picture. From a big picture, it's one
We'll review
case.
the ordinance.
All right, you're the boss. I just thought I'd point it out.
Good try, though, Chris.
That's all I can do is try to help out
right.
everybody. That's all I can do.
So you're saying that under this number, this was the first time we saw it?
That's correct. Technically, this is
All right, well,
a new
We're
case.
out of conversation.
Those are my comments. I don't know if you guys want to.
Okay, so you would be willing to not approve the project, but to consider it with the changes that you were talking about in stepping back on the second story as it goes from east to west?
Right, and then get the driveway to work with a buffer zone.
With more landscaping in between?
Right.
Okay. Mr. Ellis, would that be something?
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
Okay.
I think I could support that.
Okay. Now we just need a technical ruling.
No,
So
we
now
gotta,
we need a technical.
No.
After further review, it's no good?
2 balls and you're
Correct.
out. Yeah, okay.
Two reviews.
Even if it's a different number?
Well, we're just checking to see when the original application was filed. That will weigh on whether or not it's under the new rules or the old rules. But for your information, now, under the new ordinance, every time something is returned for redesign, it has a new number technically. So that's a technicality that really has no bearing.
It's easy to keep track of, huh?
Oh, when it was heard?
Number?
Yeah.
Okay.
Changing them.
We'll open it up. Go ahead.
I have a suggestion which solve the issue. We'll eliminate that bathroom from there. We'll take the master bathroom and switch it to that bedroom, one less bedroom, and that will solve that.
So you would take that suite on the second story?
I'll show it to you.
Sure.
This was the second suite. Oh, no,
If you
that's
take this bathroom from here, we should switch it to that bedroom.
Right. Yeah.
Will be going?
And take your key to the case.
So you take all, and then this will be bumped out, or just like that?
Makes a big difference.
Make it look nice, maybe it's invitation like this, but then the bathroom will master bathroom bigger. But this will be
So this is going to bump out.
technically a new project.
this will be a roof.
According to Wolf, anyway.
Or would you put
Would you mind, I'm sorry, just for the sake of
Speaking louder.
openness
Think of what we're
in the
talking about?
meeting, if you don't mind speaking up just a little bit
Right.
more.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
This bathroom will be here.
Oh, you lose, I see, you lose the bedroom.
Right. They have to lose that
So
bedroom.
you're not adding more square footage?
No, it's going down, actually.
That's good.
So, Stephanie, did you see that?
This bathroom would be taken into
Basically,
this
this
area.
bathroom would be
And then
That would be
they take
gone,
off
right?
that piece. That was basically where it was going.
I mean, if we did something like that, then he could work with the staff to get it tweaked, so that the exterior looks good.
Was there a discrimination on the date? Are we,
I would not be making that decision, sir.
Mr. Foy is out of the room, so.
I believe he's contacting the city attorney.
Application?
Yes, ma'am. The first application that came through Mr. Foy and I talked about that. That was submitted December of 2007.
That's what these plans say.
Right. And it was heard in September of 2008. And so that was the first case.
So I think that's why
we need to
checking.
Mr.
Right. I think you're doing some legwork on it.
Larger legal minds involved in this, right? Who's got Scott Howard's BlackBerry? You know?
Well, I think that in either case, we could probably
right.
make a judgment call, but not finalize it, maybe.
Yeah, I think that if the board has a clarity and gives very specific direction, staff would have a higher confidence level to work with the applicant under a staff approval.
So maybe if someone can make a motion.
Actually,
we have a.
Oh, we have a rule.
Yes, I just looked at the ordinance that the council adopted in April, and the filing that this case was heard once before in September 2008, but that was a filing
in
December 2007. So it was recent, and the rules. It was filed in 2007 originally. The rules changed in April 2008, but that
still under
earlier. But the original permit followed the old rules because it was applied for at that time. So when they reapplied in December of 2008, which is what you're seeing for the first time, the 2008 filing was a new application, and that starts the clock ticking on how many times you can review it
So this
under
will
the
be
new
the
rules.
first.
So you can
This is
take
our
one more bite
first
at the
then.
apple, as it were.
Right.
This will be the first time.
Right.
Right. Yes.
So we could come back for consent if we wanted. I think that would still be my preference because I want, it'd be nice when you move things around, you might find some other ways to keep pushing that mass back. I would encourage that because I want the community to see it so they'll see it one more time. And if it looks acceptable, as you know, under the rules, under consent, we don't have to discuss it, we just approve it. The risk to that is that there might be two other board members that could have an objection to that. So that's a risk. But if they don't have an objection, then it should be okay.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion with?
Well, I'd like to move that we put this on consent and that the applicant bring back a couple of more pieces of information. One is how they intend to address our concern of the driveway, two driveway butting against each other without a buffer zone of landscape. See if they can address that. And then the other information that we want is how they would address the Kempton side of the end of the building in terms of trying to get that to step back further so that portion of the building would not be so visible from the street.
The east elevation, I believe.
That would be correct.
I believe it's east, yes.
It would be the east end, right.
Yeah, okay.
To try to step that back as much as possible by eliminating some square footage.
Please don't put it back somewhere else.
Are you? What about the rest of the staff recommendations on their draft record?
Okay, let's put.
I have one that I'd like to add. On the site, as we're sort of turning this corner with the fence that's on top of the highest point on the site, if we could set back the fence maybe 5 feet from the actual ridge of it, so then it's not so visible all the way around the site, so we don't have sort of this glaring white fence that you can see from everywhere. So maybe we can add that as one of the. Okay, then let's review the staff recommendations.
I mean, I'd also add into that it not be a white fence. That would be a,
natural color fence or camel.
Green, a color that
Comments are fine with me.
anything but light, a darker color. Though, so
I think he knows. Yeah,
I think
he's
black,
done a good job with
brown.
the architecture.
But these other 6 points that the staff was talking about.
I'm okay with them.
Chair, is that the appropriate framing, the appropriate time to do that survey, or should it be done at when they do the grading? Or would you have any suggestions? Or I'm fine with what I've written, but I just want to see what do you think.
You mean the 3 to 5 feet?
Yes. Would you?
Wait, are we talking about the same thing here?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that's
Okay.
number 6.
Number 6.
That is correct.
I got it.
I placed it at the framing stage, and just to run it by to see what you. I mean, we can always talk about it later on at the final review.
I'm happy with that. That works. Yeah.
Are we okay with just saying minimum 3 feet, or do we want to give them the parameter between 3 and 5, or?
Well, 5 would be a better minimum, but it's 3 to 5. They give them some flex. I have no problem with saying 3 to 5.
Okay. Okay, we'll keep it that way then.
Mr. Aliano, is that those
I think he's
points?
okay.
You're
that's
okay
fine.
with those? Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to point something else out too. From the, I guess this would be the west side. I guess when you start moving things around, I like the way you've done this roof, that it slopes this way. Because, this is a ridge that's going, the west side. The smaller garage will be here, and then there's more garage space underneath. When you move things around, I do agree with the way you've done this, because, again, the fact that the ridge is here and this slopes that way kind of still tries to mimic it sort of has that slope towards the hillside, as opposed to turning it, creating a high point. So all these things kind of matter, and it'd be good to keep them the way you have it. At this end, that is. And this end, once you get rid of that, then you will see what happens, that this ridge line and this roof will slope towards the street, so now your sight lines are actually cut down even more. Now you're not looking at a ridge, you're looking at an eave that slopes up. So I think that will help.
So
He's proposing to remove this whole piece right here, which means that now from the street you see an eave, a horizontal eave across, sloping towards the ridge, which I think is good, as opposed to turning it and making a gable or some kind of a hip. So essentially the roof plan stays the same, except that gets removed.
Did you want to read that back as all the conditions?
Are
we done? I think
we're supporting the 6 conditions from staff, and then we're adding, I added 2, I don't know if you had.
I didn't add one, did you?
I just had the one about the moving the fence back.
We'll go ahead and give it a shot. So the 6 conditions that staff has applied as written, you'd like to make part of your motion. You've asked us to address driveway, add buffer of landscape between 2 driveways, which I believe is the same as condition number 1, to add...
No, it's not.
Okay.
I know it. It's a different little piece.
Okay, different little piece. Okay, so that'll be a separate condition. Step down on the back and east end by eliminating some square footage, and you've indicated in the meeting, and the applicant has indicated to eliminate that bathroom, or essentially move the bathroom to another location while maintaining the rest of the roof design and pattern, not modifying the roof and turning it into a different direction. Setting back the fence about 5 feet from the edge of the pad, so it's not visible from below or around the site, and providing a natural color for the fence rather than a white fence. Did we catch it all correctly?
I think on that bathroom that you were removing, what they're proposing is they remove that bathroom, the master bathroom, and they're losing bedroom number 4.
Right, they're relocating the bathroom to the bedroom, but that little piece of volume goes away, and the roofs around it don't reorient themselves.
Bedroom number 4 becomes the bathroom, so they lose
Right.
1 bedroom.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Got a second?
I'll second that.
Right.
Thank you. We can do it.
I have a motion made by Board Member Eliano and second by Board Member Ellis, and this would be returned for redesign, but the item be placed on the consent calendar.
And to clarify, that consent piece, that's a decision that we'll have to make based on the results of our working together with the applicant. And just to remind you that if there are applicants that would like to speak on the matter or any questions on the matter, that will be removed from consent. So the public knows that if they want to come and comment, even if an item is on consent, the hearing is here so that we can engage in the democratic process.
Great. All right. We're ready. Roll call.
Oh, shall I? Yes. Mr. Aliano?
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
And Mr. Yu?
Yes.
Is returned for redesign with conditions. And to place on consent calendar pending staff's decision that it is applicable.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming.
But can we take a motion?
We have just, yes,
We
10
didn't take
minutes, actually.
We didn't vote, did we? Oh, we did.
Yeah, we did.
You voted. Yes, you voted.
Moving on, we got more things. Let's go.
It's fine.
We got 2 more things to do here.
The last,
You know what? Can she have her picture back, or is it part of the
Actually,
record now?
we can make a copy of it to give back to you,
Okay.
but unfortunately,
He didn't submit it, actually. We asked to put it up there.
oh,
There's a difference.
Okay.
we would need to make a copy of it for our records.
I'd be glad to.
Can we make a copy of it for record?
Okay.
That would be great.
Thanks.
So,
All right.
Thank you.
okay, well, I'm sorry, we can't have any more cross
We still have
discussion.
business to conduct.
We can talk about it when we come back.
We can, yeah, when it comes back then, so. Last item on today's agenda would be the approval of the minutes, and this would be from December the 18th, and Board Member Ellis and you were present. Board Member Eliana was not here.
I'll move acceptance of the minutes of December 18.
A motion by Board Member Ellis and a second by
Second?
Mr. Yu, and I take it all in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then the minutes from January the 8th, and all members were present that day.
I'll move acceptance of the minutes of January 8.
Mr. Ellis, second by Board Member Eliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, 3-0.
Thanks.
And in terms of the agenda,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Staff?
No other-
Yeah, good.
No other business?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn at 7:45 p.m.
7:45. We're
Thank
done.
you.